Welcome to the Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI, your home for the politically homeless, streaming live at KVI.com and the KVI app. If you want to be part of the most dangerous show on the airwaves, call or text the KVI studio line at 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. Coming up this hour, Katie Wilson orders a cleanup of 12th and Jackson. You think that's because of a video that went viral over there? But before we get to any of that, time for your daily dose of adrenaline.
You want me to stick this into my heart? Are you f***ing nuts?
Are you proud to be an American? I'm proud to be an American. I'm really mad at President Trump right now, and I'm really mad at J.D. Vance. That does not take away from the fact that I'm very proud to be an American. When Joe Biden was president, I was still proud to be an American. In fact, I think when Joe Biden was president, I probably bought a few more types of American flags than I had before. I think I made sure to use them more often. When Barack Obama was president, same thing. Did more Americana type stuff because some things he didn't feel too American. I felt like I personally had to compensate for them. Over at my house, there are always two flags hanging on my house. There's always the American flag and there's always the Israel flag. And I have trouble explaining this to some people because the Jewish star represents the Jewish people. And we are American Jews who live here in this country, have never had freedom like we have in this country. And we are thankful to this country for providing it to us. I usually have a flag in the center. I have 3 flags on my house. And the flag in the center changes with what's going on in the world. I put up the Seahawks flag. I put up the Mets flag. I put up the Blue Angels flag when Seafair comes to town. This time of year, you know what I have? And I bought it, and I bought a really nice one, by the way. By the way, the $5 or $10 extra bucks you spend on a higher quality flag, worth it, completely worth it. I got an America 250 flag.
Oh, I thought you were going to say LGBTQSTVUSWYV for the month.
No, sir.
Oh.
No, sir. My pride flag is the American flag. I don't need that rainbow business. That's not my flag. Somebody else wants to hang that up. Okay, whatever. Not my jam. I've got the America 250 flag.
I was just trying to think of, what
outside
could
the box.
be
Yes,
celebrating this month.
my Pan-African flag will go up next for Juneteenth.
All right.
Right? We'll put that. No, that I don't have a Juneteenth flag. Okay, we don't do that. I've got my America 250 flag right up there because I am proud to be an American, regardless of who is president of the United States, regardless if I am mad at the president and vice president. And I feel like they made a very dumb decision. But apparently, Democrats are not proud to be Americans. I know that anybody who listens to this show is proud to be an American if they agree with me or disagree with me because they are fighting for what they think their version and vision of America is. And I love that. I love that. I love when we have good conversations, good debates, good discussions about that. I never question the patriotism of anybody in this audience, regardless of what side of the political aisle they are on. Unless you go and march with Antifa, then I think you're not proud to be an American. Then I think you just want anarchy. We're not naming names around here, but we know a certain caller who's not allowed to call anymore because of that nonsense. So we're not doing that anymore. But I know this audience is proud to be American, even if you disagree with me. However, a new poll says the majority of Democrats are not proud to be Americans. Here's CNN.
How patriotic are Americans feeling this morning? With us now, CNN chief data analyst.
We will always remember Lexington and Concord, people. We will always remember it here on CNC.
Patriots Day versus the 4th. We know which one is more important. But the meaning of the 4th, when we asked voters about this, what do most of them say at this point?
This, to me, is one of the most stunning divides that we have seen. We're talking about polarization in politics. It even comes down to what you believe July 4th actually is. Like, what does July 4th mean to you? Celebrate America, friends and family time. Among Republicans, what do you see? You see the clear majority say it's a time to celebrate America, 65%. Among Democrats, however, the plurality disagree. Look at that. What do you see? Friends and family time at 42% versus just 24% who say that what it means most to them is to celebrate America. So even on the basic question of what July 4th means to you. We have Republicans on one end saying celebrate America, more of them say that, and Democrats on the other end saying that it means more to them to have time with friends and family.
What do they say about the flag?
Yeah, okay, so what do they say about the flag? Even on the basic level of flag, look at this. Look at how we have an increasing polarization on this issue. We'll display the flag on July 4th, the American flag. Back in July of 2001, look at this. You had 68% of Republicans, 65% of Democrats saying that they would, in fact, display the flag on July 4th. You come over to this side of the screen, Republicans basically are where they were 25 years ago, right? 64%. But look at that Democratic percentage, absolutely plummeting. Just 27% of Democrats say they will, in fact, display the flag on July 4th. Democrats and Republicans in different camps, even on the simple question of displaying the flag on July 4th, a polarization, a split that, simply put, did not exist a generation ago.
What about the sloganeering about proud to be an American?
Okay, what about this idea, are you proud to be an American? Extremely or very proud to be an American? Again, look at this divide, a growing divide on this question. Back in January of 2001, 90% of Republicans, 85% of Democrats. This was after a very contentious 2000 election, keep in mind, right, with George W. Bush coming into the White House. You come over to this side of the screen in 2026, look at this. Again, the Democratic percentage absolutely plummets to just 29% of Democrats say they're extremely or very proud to be an American. That Republican percentage, the exact same, 90 and 90. The Democratic percentage, what is that? That's basically a third of the level that it was just 25 years ago.
That's crazy. That's absolutely crazy. What, because your guy isn't in the White House? Or because your party isn't in power, you're not proud to be an American? The fact that we have differences and that we have a party system where the opposition actually gets to speak, air their opinions without getting prosecuted, is one of the things that makes our country incredible. Not just great, but incredible. How do you find common ground with a party where they're not proud to be Americans at all, where they think that America is a bad place, yet they want to bring every illegal alien they possibly can here? They think America is so terrible, yet they want to defraud and exploit every entitlement program we have here. They think America is so awful and terrible and horrible, but they want to use all of its systems of power to go after their political enemies. Makes no sense. Unless you just want to use America, then destroy America. Now, for me, why do I bring this up today? Somebody said to me, Ari, I'm so disappointed in the president, I'm not sure I'm even proud to be a Republican anymore. And I said, well, that's ridiculous. Can you name a single Republican president who ever lined up with 100% of your ideals? Can you name a single president who ever lined up with 100% of your ideals? No, you can't. But I think that after we've seen the MOU, the Memorandum of Understanding on Iran, we are questioning President Trump's judgment, and we are questioning J.D. Vance's advice. J.D. Vance was the architect of this Memorandum of Understanding. And to review, there are 4 things that were the goals of this war. 4 things. 1, no nuclear Iran. 2, no ballistic missiles for Iran. 3, no shutting down the Strait of Hormuz. 4, no funding terror. This MOU only does one of the 3 of the 4, and only for 60 days. Doesn't address anything else. And for those of you who say, Ari, that's not true, Ari, you're wrong, guys, I've got the text right in front of me. I'm looking at the text of this thing. Let's start with the opening paragraph like we did yesterday. The United States of America and the Islamic Republic of Iran and their allies in the current war, by signing this MOU, declare the immediate and permanent termination of all military operations on all fronts, including in Lebanon. Is Israel part of this deal? No. Is Hezbollah part of this deal? Well, they should be, because they're an Iranian terror proxy. So, if there's no fighting in Lebanon, you're saying Israel is not allowed to defend itself from missiles being fired from civilian areas in Lebanon into civilian areas in Israel. But you didn't bring Israel in to discuss this, the country that's been fighting side by side with us? Also, Iran, if you're interested in Lebanon, that means you are not going to give up terror because you are sticking up for your Hezbollah terror proxy. Also, something else. If you're a terrorist group, you're not going to give up your nuclear weapons. We'll come back to that in a minute. So what you're saying right here, right off the bat, is you're not going to give up terror. And that was one of the four demands that was one of the four reasons behind this war. In fact, they mentioned Lebanon 3 times in the opening paragraph. And ensuring the territorial integrity and sovereignty of Lebanon. The final deal will confirm the permanent termination of the war on all fronts, including in Lebanon. You are shilling for Hezbollah. Hezbollah, a terrorist organization that has killed over 240 Americans at minimum. That's who you want to survive? Do I need to go through these with you? Just a little bit of history. April 18th, 1983, the U.S. Embassy bombing in Beirut, 17 people killed. October 23rd, 1983, U.S. Marine barracks bombing in Beirut, 241 killed. September 20th, 1984, U.S. Embassy Annex bombing in Beirut, 2 killed. 1984 to 1985, the kidnapping and murder of CIA Station Chief William Buckley, 1 person killed. June 14th to 30th, 1985, TWA Flight 847 hijacking, Navy diver Robert Stetham, 1 person killed. 1986, kidnapping and murder of Peter Kilburn, killed. 1988 to 1989, kidnapping and murder of Lieutenant Colonel William Higgins, 1 person killed. June 25th, 1996, bombing of the Khobar Towers, 19 U.S. service members killed. August 1st, 2006, Second Lebanon War, 1 person killed who was an American Israeli. 284 people that we know about. 284 minimum killed by Hezbollah. So when I call out the fact that part of this memorandum of understanding is that Hezbollah continues to exist and be funded, and now you're trying to make it so Israel can't retaliate? For those of you who are saying Ari Hoffman's just Israel first, just Jewish first, 284 Americans have been killed by this terror proxy of Iran's, and you guys don't care that they're continuing to be allowed to fund, continue being allowed to exist? You don't care about that? You don't want Israel to be able to do what Israel has to do? And then I hear the other bad argument, proportionate force. Oh, give me a break. Proportionate force. Okay, let's do proportionate force to October 7th, shall we? So does that mean Israel should go into Gaza, rape hundreds of people, execute them, cut their anatomy off and play with it, kill their children, and then kidnap 241 of them? Is that proportionate force? Is that what we should be doing? So these arguments fall apart. The people out there who are saying, this stops Iran from having a nuclear weapon. No, it does not. Paragraph 9, pending the final deal, the United States of America and the Islamic Republic of Iran agree to maintain the status quo. The Islamic Republic of Iran will maintain the current status quo of its nuclear program. And the United States of America will not impose any new sanctions and will not deploy additional forces to the region. So, no, this is not a good deal. The vice president is out there today shilling for this thing, though. He was in the White House press room today, taking all the questions, and though he sounded very smart and though he sounded very intelligent, I'm about to destroy everything he said. Like this.
Well, we don't want any scale of any attack. Any attack, whatever its scale, is unacceptable under this agreement. Now, you asked the question saying that oil money was flowing to Hezbollah before the MOU was signed, and it's one of the reasons why we are actually engaged in this process is to ensure that no money is flowing to Hezbollah. So it's interesting where people will say that the MOU is bad because the MOU produces consequences that were actually happening well before the MOU was signed. That's not a reflection on the MOU. That's a reflection of why we need the MOU to ensure that we have the regional peace and stability that we need.
Hang on. All of you who are defending this thing, if a Democrat said, well, all the stuff that was happening before is going to continue to happen now, you guys would be eating him alive. If that was Joe Biden or Kamala Harris or Anthony Blinken or anybody, you would be tearing him apart. Well, all this stuff was happening already, so we should just let it continue to happen. Are you kidding me with this? Are you kidding me with this? That is nonsense. No, it should be you stop your bad behavior or we don't stop the bombing. It's that simple. That's what it should be. And the money is flowing to Iran right now. When they say, oh, there's no money going to them, you want me to prove it to you? Upon the signing of this MOU, the Islamic Republic of Iran will make arrangements using its best efforts for the safe passage of commercial vessels with no charge for 60 days, only from the Persian Gulf to the Sea of Oman and vice versa. The traffic of commercial vessels will immediately start, and considering the need for removal, the technical and military obstacles in demining by the Islamic Republic of Iran will be instated within 30 days. The Islamic Republic of Iran will conduct dialogue with the Sultan of Oman to define the future. Okay, basically you're saying the strait is open. Well, guess what? It goes both ways. If you let anything in, you let everything out, including Iranian oil, which the United States of America undertakes with regional partners to develop a definitive, mutually agreed-upon plan with at least $300 billion for reconstruction, economic development of the Islamic Republic of Iran. So you're going to have the Arab partners rebuild them. In addition to that, during this period, the traffic of the vessels will be in proportion to the numbers of pre-war traffic being restored to the Islamic Republic of Iran. The United States of America further undertakes to remove its forces from proximity within 30 days of the final deal, which means now they can get their oil out. But what's worse than that is they are removing the sanctions on the oil. Immediately upon the signing of this MOU and until its termination of sanctions, the U.S. Department of Treasury will issue waivers for the export of Iranian crude oil, petroleum products, and derivatives, and all associated services, including banking transactions, insurances, transportation, etc. So you're letting them have money again. And what did they do with the money last time? They gave it to Hezbollah. They gave it to Hamas. They gave it to the Houthi rebels. They gave it to ISIS. All of those groups are responsible for not just killing Israelis, but killing Americans as well. So then the VP goes out and says this.
The part of the peace plan, the part of this MOU that I think have been most misrepresented by certain parts of the media is the idea that the Iranians get all these benefits. You will hear things about $300 billion or $24 billion or this or that number of money or amount of money. And the simple fact is that the only way the Iranians get any of those resources, not a single penny, by the way, from the United States of America under any circumstances, but the only way that they would ever get any benefit of the bargain is if they comply fully and change their behavior.
Not true. Paragraph 10, the United States of America undertakes that immediately upon the signing of this MOU and until the termination of sanctions, the U.S. Department of Treasury will issue waivers for the export of Iranian crude oil, petroleum products, and derivatives, and all associated services, including banking transactions, insurances, transportation, etc. It just ain't true. They are already getting relief, and they didn't do anything. Nothing at all. If he was a Democrat, everybody in the Republican world would be shredding this deal apart. Actually read the thing, guys. I am furious because it's like Tucker Carlson negotiated this deal. I am furious because this is a very bad, terrible, horrible, no good, very bad deal. I will tell you that. It is awful. It is not good. I don't see an upside in this at all. In fact, President Trump and the vice president both said they get to keep their ballistic missiles because they need something for defense. So they're still funding terror. They still get to do their ballistic missile program, and they still have nuclear weapons under the status quo. What's the upside of this? What is the upside of this deal? The upside of this deal is gas prices are going to go down, and we might have to do this again in the future. That's the only upside I can see right now. Am I upset with J.D. Vance? Oh, you betcha. Am I upset with President Trump for agreeing to this? Yep, you betcha. I noticed that J.D. Vance isn't having the signing ceremony in Switzerland anymore, with one of the heads of the IRGC, the terrorist group that has killed tens of thousands of people. Probably because he realizes the optics of standing next to that guy, shaking hands with him, is really, really bad. And that's probably why they did the digital signing and the signing at Versailles and all these other things, because it's a pretty terrible look. Pretty terrible look. I am furious about this deal. I think it is a terrible deal. And guess what? Hezbollah is already doing what Hezbollah does. It's already launching rockets at Israel. What? Israel's not supposed to respond now? This is a terrible deal. It is not a good deal. I hope that President Trump hears everything that people are saying right now and realizes what a bad deal it is and says when the 60 days are over, nope, didn't work out. Until this regime is gone, nothing is going to change. Until we get people actually interested in peace, until we get a deal that we want, nothing is going to change. And if J.D. Vance was a Democrat, Republicans would be shredding everything he said in the White House press briefing room today because none of it was true. Sounded very impressive, sounded very nice, just ain't true. Does this make me less proud to be an American? Of course not. Am I disappointed? Absolutely. Am I still excited to go to Washington, D.C. for July 4th? Oh, you betcha. I can't wait to see the fireworks and the pageantry and the festival and the fair and interview all the people I'm going to interview. I'm so excited for it. You can be mad at something you believe in. You can be disappointed or disagree with somebody you love. You can do all those things. But if you don't have those disagreements and you don't call them out when you think they're wrong, then you're just following blindly. And that's not what it's about. That's not why we have freedom of speech. That's not why we have talk radio. That's not why we have all this. We have freedom of speech so people can express their opinions. And right now, this is a terrible deal. Doesn't make me less proud to be an American. What makes me proud to be an American is I have a microphone for 3 hours a day, and I have social media platforms where I could say whatever I want in opposition to this deal, and I don't get thrown in jail, and I don't get fined, and I don't get kicked off the air, and I don't get penalized. And you know what? The White House doesn't say we're not letting Hoffman come anymore to that July 4th thing. Nope, not at all. In fact, was talking to them today about who we get to interview while we're there. That's the beauty of this country. That is the beauty of this country, because I'm going to have some hard questions for this administration. I really, really am over this, and that's the beautiful thing. And that's another reason, among many, of why I am proud to be an American, why I will always be proud to be an American. And in fact, when the opposition is in power, I'm probably more proud to be an American because I have to fight harder for what my vision of America is. I live in Washington State. We deal with that every single day. Lots more to discuss as the show continues, my friends. For example, Katie Wilson is now cleaning up a notorious part of Seattle after a little reporting by a certain little birdie you know. Tell you all about it when we come back. You're listening to The Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI.
I'd work for all my life.
There's a lot of people over in social media land who are watching the live stream and commenting on my shirt. Yes, for those of you who can't see it, it is Star Wars themed along with Hanukkah menorahs. It is an ugly Hawaiian shirt. That's what it is. Why am I wearing it? Because the air conditioning is still broke in the studio. It may not be fixed till Saturday, and it is a gajillion degrees in here. So if you want to know why I'm wearing the goofy shirts all week, it's because it is so hot, and I feel like I got to be slightly presentable. Otherwise, I would just be, well, I wouldn't be wearing a shirt, and you'd see the full Chewbacca, and nobody wants that. I don't even think my wife wants to see that, okay? So I will tell you guys, I am sparing all of you by wearing the ugly shirts. Good news today, by the way. Seattle Mayor Katie Wilson put out a little statement. Before I tell you what the statement is, you know, all week that video Jonathan Cho, Andrea Suarez, and I did by going to 12th and Jackson has been going viral. We've all been getting calls from national media to talk about it. People want to help save some of the people we saw being trafficked in there. The amount of emails I've gotten about the one girl that we saw who looks like 15, 16 years old, we're trying, guys. We are really, really trying. We might have a couple leads. We're working on it. One other woman actually did get out of homelessness. Our friend Justine Moreland and Andrea Suarez were able to get her into a shelter. I mean, good things are happening. But also people are saying, hey, Katie Wilson, I thought you said everything was cleaned up for the World Cup. It's not. Well, what do you know? A little statement came out yesterday, and I just started laughing. Jonathan Cho sent this over to me. It's over on the mayor's official website. Mayor's statement on 12th and Jackson and North Beacon Hill. We're taking a new approach to 12th and Jackson. Community groups and business owners in the Little Saigon neighborhood have been struggling for years with chronic safety issues near 12th and Jackson and now North Beacon Hill. The community has worked together to do what they can, but city leaders have failed to act with the necessary focus and determination to sustain a meaningful change in everyday conditions. Stop. You're one of the city leaders. You've been in office for 6 months. You shoved the homeless out of downtown and out of the stadium area to this part of town. You made it worse. We must disrupt the drug dealing, public disorder, and other illegal activity that has destabilized this community. Whoa. I thought it was a housing issue. Oh, are you admitting there's a drug problem? Are you admitting there's a human trafficking problem? Are you admitting there's a criminal element? After months of deep listening, what the hell does that mean? What's deep listening? What does that mean? Somebody shows you a problem, go fix it. After months, it makes you sound ineffective. My administration is taking a new path forward in close partnership with community leaders, the Seattle Police Department, and service providers. Oh, great, Homeless Inc. We will no longer tolerate open-air drug sale and use and vending stolen goods. I'll believe it when I see it. We are expanding police personnel in the area to engage directly with individuals participating in these activities. To engage with? Hey, drug dealer, would you mind not selling them drugs? Engage with? To arrest them and throw them in prison. How about we engage with? We're going to engage with them. Explain that the behavior is no longer tolerated. Hey, Mr. Drug Dealer, I know you were able to sell drugs for all these years, but you just can't anymore. Pretty please with a cherry on top. Explain it to them. Yeah, try explaining it to the Honduran drug leaders who have taken over Lewis Park. If individuals persist in these behaviors, I'm sorry, I can't. They will either be booked into jail or enrolled in the diversion program. That's how we got here, you dum-dum. Originally developed in Seattle, the LEAD program is a national model for its proof. It does not have a proven track record. It is an absolute disaster. New York's idiot bail reform system was based on it, and look at the problems they have. No, the LEAD program is a disaster. So while I get encouraged at the beginning, this is performative. This is completely performative. So we're going to solve all the problems by doing the same solutions we did before, right? Right? That's exactly what it is. Yesterday's solutions are tomorrow's problems is basically what's going on right now. That's what it is. That's what we're seeing in front of us. You think this is actually going to work, or you think she's just doing it because somebody had an op-ed in addition to this video that came out in the New York Post today. Or actually, it should be called the Nick Your Post, because actually they updated the whole thing for the Knicks. It's kind of funny seeing that header everywhere. But somebody who has a radio show from 3 to 6 p.m. on Talk Radio 570 KVI wrote an op-ed called Socialist Seattle Mayor's World Cup Cleanup is a world-class fraud. That's basically the written version of that video that went out. If you want to see it, you email me, and I will send it on over to you, arikvi.com. That's arikvi.com, or it's up on my social media right now, Ari Hoffman Official on Facebook and Instagram, The Hoffather over on X. We go to KVI studio line, take a call from our friend, Transit Joe. Transit Joe, what's up, man?
I just want to say I'm proud to be an American, and I want to thank you for taking my call. And, I probably voted for Joe Biden, and I love America because you have great people willing to help out our neighbors and listen to our neighbors and work with our neighbors. And we also have a great U.S. Constitution. And Donald Trump may not be the best president we've ever had. In fact, I think, can I say what I really think of him, Mary?
Well, you can say it, Joe. We'll disagree with you, but we're all about disagreement here, so that's fine. You can say it.
Donald Trump sucks, but so too does Ayatollah Khamenei and Islamic terrorism. We should not give Iran another penny.
Well, I agree with the second part of that. I'm not going to agree with the first part. I disagree with him on one thing today. I don't disagree with him a lot, but I will tell you this deal definitely does suck. And, Joe, one of the reasons this country is so great is because, guess what? You call my show, almost every single day. And we have these discussions almost every single day, and I know that you are a member of Ari's Army and you are proud to be an American. Joe, God bless you. Appreciate you being part of the show. You want to be part of the show, give us a call or text at 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. Up next, the Death Star has opened in Chicago. That's right, Barack Obama's presidential library, and you won't believe what they did to kick things off. Also, Kamala Harris is back with some new deep thoughts. You're going to enjoy this one. I missed her so much. You're listening to the Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI. I like what Dan Smith said over here on the text line about my shirt and being Chewbacca. He said, no, it's Tom Selleck in Magnum P.I., not the Chewbacca. That's very generous of you. Even I would disagree with that statement, but that's very more David Hasselhoffman-esque. We'll go with that. How about that? Yes, we'll do that. I'll be a David Hasselhoffman. That'll work for me. Ari Hasselhoffman. We'll do that. Anyway, Obama opened his Death Star today. He opened his giant monstrosity museum today. Would you like to know how the ceremony began? Because it was lots of fun.
We'd also like to take a moment to recognize the original inhabitants of the land upon which we are gathered today.
The Bears?
We honor the Anishinaabe, the Council of Three Fires, the Ojibwe, the Odawa, and the Potawatomi nations.
Woo! Woo! So give it to the three council. What did she? Hang on. We got to hit that one more time. What did she say there? Come on.
We'd also like to take a moment to recognize the original inhabitants of the land upon which we are gathered today. We honor the Anishinaabe, the Council of Three Fires, the Ojibwe, the Odawa, and the Potawatomi nations.
Yeah, okay, I tried to write that down. I couldn't. I don't even know what the Ishi Sushi thing, the Council of Three Fires. I think I got that one right. If you feel that strongly, give it back to them. I'm sure they would love the giant. You know what? Nobody wants this museum. Nobody wants this thing. Well, if you feel that strongly, give it to them. Well, anything Barack Obama said at this thing was really boring and not very exciting. And, of course, just Trump and Republican bashing. So we don't really care about that. But you know who was interviewed yesterday? Former vice president, former presidential candidate, Kamala Harris. And she was asked maybe if she might be running in 2028. Let's do another episode, which I've missed so long, of Deep Thoughts, with your former vice president, Kamala Harris.
A lot of people, you've talked about that you're thinking about running for president, right? How is that thought process going? What's the process in that? And I know you're on a listening tour, and I'm curious what you're hearing from people as you've gone around the country, what people are telling you that maybe you've learned that you didn't know before the process of doing so.
What people are telling me includes that they want to believe in systems, and they've lost trust in those systems. What I hear a lot is that people know that at the end of this administration, there will be a lot of debris. I tell them often, I can't guarantee that it won't get worse before it gets better. But the one thing I do know is at the end of it, there will be a lot of debris, and it would be irresponsible to then address that in a way that we only talk about what should we do, what do we need to do to rebuild. If we do that with any sense of nostalgia, that would be irresponsible. Because the reality is, even before, there were many things that were not working for a lot of people. The status quo is not working for a lot of people. And what the people are telling us is that they want things to be better.
So all that being said, does that make you more likely to?
What are you trained monkeys clapping about? What are you clapping seals clapping about? I don't know what you're talking about. That was one of the most nonsensical things I've ever heard in my life.
What you just said is one of the most insanely idiotic things I have ever heard. At no point in your rambling, incoherent response were you even close to anything that could be considered a rational thought. Everyone in this room is now dumber for having listened to it. I award you no points, and may God have mercy on your soul.
Yeah, no clue what she just said. No clue whatsoever. But she wants to run for president again. Maybe if she had a few extra days this time, she might be able to do it, right?
You know, that Deep Thoughts music is 2 minutes. And I was sitting here going, it's going to run out.
No.
She just keeps going, rambling on nothing, and the music's going to run out.
By the way, I could have kept it going. We could have kept the music going like another 30 seconds or so. I had another 30 seconds of her answer,
Goodness.
but it doesn't really work with the clapping. Yeah, it's insane, man. I mean, I kind of hope she runs again because the Republican will win. I really do. But also, think of all the great radio content we'll get out of it. I don't want her to win. I just want her to run. Let's be very, very clear about that. Lots more to discuss as the show continues. Studies are in. It's official. Leftism is literally a mental disorder. Tell you all about it when we come back. You're listening to the Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI. Are people who are a leftist actually mentally deranged? Well, there's a new study out that might actually say that. I'm not talking about liberals. I'm talking about leftists. Look, when I'm done with the show, I go home and I write a ton of articles at night. No, I mean, I also go on the boat and I also have a life and I also hang out with friends. Politics is not my entire life. Do I wish some of my friends would not always talk to me about politics? Yes. Can we go back to talking about scotch and baseball and other things? Sure, that would be nice. But politics is not my life. I don't get depressed when somebody loses. I get disappointed, but I then move on with my life and go, well, at least I'll get some good content out of them. So A new study published in the journal Political Behavior supports this conclusion. It shows that mental illness is emerging as its own political identity, as most heavily aligned with leftist political ideology and causes. Professor Lauren Vandehey of Utah State University, who conducted this study, explains, I further find that there is an emerging mental health political identity that is most pronounced among younger Gen Z and more liberal Americans. Careful observers of political discourse and its direction over the last few years have seen this demonstrated a time or two. In fact, Libs of TikTok has built a successful cottage industry on this very fact. Cy Post, in their reporting of the study, explains approximately one half of study participants with mental illness stated their identity as a person with mental illness is very important or somewhat important to them. The study's author also noted, I find that political predictors and political consequences for the emerging mental health identity differ from those for physical disability and serious physical illness categorization and identification. This means political identity among liberal citizens can be expected to be more closely tied to mental health struggles that are more subjective in nature. We're not talking about people who have actual mental health problems. We're talking about people with imagined ones. The article concludes these findings have far-reaching consequences for mental health advocacy and the role mental health identity will play in the political sphere, especially as Gen Z matures as a cohort. You know what this means? It means when you go around checking every box just so you can identify that way, something's wrong with you. It also means that when you go out there talking about your undiagnosed mental illness, you know, most people that suffer from mental illness want to get it treated, want to get it taken care of, and don't want to be identified that way for the rest of their life. They'd rather get it fixed and move on or have to cope with it and let everybody think they are normal. Here, you have people that want to check it as a box, but also want to check every other box. But now they're putting that they have mental health challenges front and center by checking all these boxes and align with leftist ideology. Let's look at the stuff that's going on in the streets, and that makes a lot of sense. In fact, in our next segment, Jonathan Cho has a video that illustrates all of this when he tried to go to this rally against the initiatives that Pramila Jayapal and crew were having. But before we get to any of that, we go to the KVI studio line, take a call from my good friend, Alma. Alma, what's going on, my darling?
Oh, my God. Did you see Obama's opening of his library? And you just said this, Ari. All the people were there for him because he's a good person. He's a great man. Trump ain't had nobody. And look at Michelle with her beautiful woman self that Trump called. That's the thing they call her man.
Well, wait a second. Hang on a second. Alma, hang on 1 second, okay? Have you seen the library? Is the library beautiful? Because the library looks like a giant rock.
Well, don't say nothing about what Trump has put up in his messing with the airplane.
With the what? With the airplane?
You know, Trump. I wish I would have read up on it. But he put this tower, all that dumb stuff. Look, okay, let's go here. What about that wrestling on the White House lawn? Why would you do something like that?
Well, Teddy Roosevelt did it first. You know, Teddy Roosevelt did that years ago, and actually he was in the fight.
Yeah, well, I can understand he was in it. Trump just like to play with.
Well, Alma, I watched that thing this morning just for the content to see what I could get out of it. And I got to say, Alma, I am proud to be an American because I can have you call the show and we can disagree and we can still give each other compliments and we can still be friends, right?
Thank you. There you go.
Okay.
Give me a compliment. I'm giving you one. You know, if it weren't for politics, we talk. And I know you could be a good friend of mine. I could come to your house. You're the type of person that let somebody come to their house and sit at your table.
Yes, Alma, you should know that our best friends are actually liberals, and we still drink together at the table. God bless you, Alma. Appreciate the call. Appreciate you being a fan of the show. You want to be part of the show, give us a call or text 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. When we come back, the mental illness on full display at an event Jonathan Cho went to cover last night. Tell you all about it. You're listening to the Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI. Welcome to the Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI, your home for the politically homeless, streaming live at KVI.com and the KVI app. If you want to be part of the most dangerous show on the airwaves, call or text the KVI studio line at 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. Coming up this hour, we find out that it was one of Barack Obama's dreamers who is behind the plot for the massacre that didn't happen, thankfully, at the UFC. But before we get to any of that, my friends, it's time to get ready to laugh, Seattle. Comedy legend Chris Tucker is taking the stage at the Snoqualmie Casino and Hotel Ballroom on Friday, June 26th. And we are giving away two tickets for one of our very, very lucky listeners. All you have to do is text the word I give you to the number I give you for your chance to win. Today's word is Chris, as in Chris Tucker. Don't send me the whole word Chris Tucker, just Chris. Text the word Chris, C-H-R-I-S, to 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. Visit Snow Casino, S-N-O Casino.com for all the details and to buy tickets to the show. Well, speaking of shows, the Cho Show was out in force yesterday, and Jonathan Cho had a ticket to an event in Seattle. What was this event? It was the kickoff to the no hate, no state for hate, no kind of hate, something about no hate, where it was a whole bunch of hateful people stopping Jonathan Cho from getting in there because they hate him so much. What was this event? This was Pramila Jayapal and Gurmay Zahalai and all of them talking about how us Republicans, us conservatives, 80% of America, by the way, who are common sense on this issue, want to keep boys out of girls' sports. How 80% of Americans want parents to have rights, but that's hateful. That's bigoted. Don't you know you're hateful and bigoted if you want that? So we don't have a lot of video from the event itself. You know why? Because they didn't put out a lot of video from the event itself because there's no place for hate. So they didn't put out a lot of video from that event. We'll go looking for it, but also Jonathan Cho didn't get in. Do you know what happened when Jonathan Cho tried to get in the building? Give a little listen to this.
Are you blocking? Are you blocking the sidewalk?
Do something then. Do something.
Are you sure?
I will knock you though. There's out.
Dude, you gotta lay off the meth. You gotta lay off the meth, dude.
That's Jonathan Cho.
Doing that.
Is this a man or a woman?
It's a thing.
How's it feel being a person that they're probably gonna kill anyway?
Hey, I'm good, man. You threatening me? As long as there's no violence, you got no problems today. You can do whatever you want. As long as you don't touch me, you're good. Fully prepared to defend myself. Don't touch.
Sorry. I'm sorry. No hate in Washington State. You should see these people. And with regards to our last segment, I think these are the people in the study they're talking about. Yeah, no hate in Washington State. So we're going to yell hateful, bigoted things and cuss words at the giant Asian man. We're going to do that. No hate in Washington State, though, guys. No hate in Washington State. What are they trying to do? They're trying to stop the initiatives. They're trying to stop them on the ballot. And I already saw signs in my neighborhood for no hate in Washington State. No hate in Washington State. I already saw this. So you want boys to be winning at girls' sports. So you want parents to not know what's going on with their kids. That's what you want, and you're going to do whatever it takes to stop that, to make sure that you get your way, including yelling hateful things at people. This makes a lot of sense, right? A lot of sense. Makes good amount of sense. By the way, that wasn't the only protest in our area around here. Remember the other day, we revealed to you exclusively here on the show that, I'm just laughing to stop from crying, that a union staged all their protest gear inside a storefront that was rented or gifted from King County, the former Kingdom Deli, right across from the World Cup. That's right, my friends. It was right there. They staged the bullhorns. They staged the placards. They staged the banners. They staged the pots and pans to make noises with. And we were wondering when they were going to go protest. Oh, my friends. It was almost the very next day they did it. And remember, we saw all these posters for Shama Sawant, everybody's least favorite Marxist, former Seattle City Councilwoman. Yeah, well, turns out they actually went out there and protested with all this stuff. Very exciting stuff, protesting in front of a hotel because they want communism, because they want better wages, because they don't like ICE. I couldn't keep track of what they were actually protesting.
Hi, I'm Shamasawa. I'm running as a revolutionary socialist, pro-worker, anti-war revolutionary socialist for the U.S. Congress against genocide, democrat, this sunny morning in Seattle.
Okay. I can't understand what she's saying at all. I can't hear her. I can't understand her. And they posted that video online. You know, not every video is a winner. Sometimes you post a video and it just don't work. But Shama Sawant has a track record of this. Do you guys remember? Do you guys remember this? When her activist husband assaulted one of Congressman Adam Smith's staffers and got thrown in jail for it. You remember they were protesting outside and she wasn't really good at timing the noise and what she was saying back then either.
3 of our fellow peaceful activists have been arrested merely for chanting against the war, against the genocide in Gaza, because they are angry that 500,000 Palestinians have been slaughtered.
Yeah, it turns out doing a press conference in the landing zone of SeaTac Airport, probably not a great idea, right, Kev? It's like Wayne's World. I just want to go, ah!
I mean, at that point, don't you just stop down and go like, oh, there's a plane going over. Let's let's hold on a second.
Not for her. And by the way, when this first
let it go by and just sit there quietly.
Yeah, when this first happened, I think there were like 5 or 6 clips of this where they just kept trying to do the press conference, but instead you're in the landing approach of SeaTac Airport. Just every single. She's really bad at this. She's really, really bad at this. Oh, crazy stuff. But these activists are dangerous. These activists are actually dangerous. They're assaulting people who are gathering signatures against the income tax. And it's gotten so bad, as a matter of fact, that Attorney General Nick Brown actually had to do a video about it. Give a listen.
Hi, I'm Nick Brown, Washington State Attorney General. Want to take a minute to talk about a critical part of our system here in Washington where people have a voice in their democracy, and that's through initiatives and referendums. And if you've been paying attention these days, you might have seen people walking around with a clipboard like this, gathering signatures for various initiatives. I've also seen reports of people being harassed or assaulted when they're gathering signatures, and some reports of those signature gathering petitions being ripped up or destroyed. If you're doing that, knock that off. Don't with our democracy. We need to protect people's right to vote. We need to protect the right to gather signatures, and we need to protect people's ability to get involved with their government.
Wow, he's so edgy because he dropped 2 cuss words. So edgy. So edgy. Yeah, that's really doing something. Look, it's better than before. Do you know why Nick Brown is doing this? Would you like to know why? First of all, there's going to be a lefty initiative about sound transit. Whether or not he supports it, no idea. But that's number 1. That's number 1. Number 2 is somebody's got his eye on the governor's office. Somebody thinks to himself, hey, Bob Ferguson became governor. I can become governor too. And then who knows? Black president. I could be Barack Obama part 2. That's what he's thinking. I tell you, this is how politicians think. So he's thinking to himself, maybe if I do this, then conservatives will see me as better. Yeah, it took you a while. What have we had, like 10 initiatives so far that we've had assaults and attacks on, and you've spoken up for one of them? Just one of them, maybe? Yeah, we can see through you. We can see through you. How about a press conference? And where's Turd Ferguson, by the way? How come he's not weighing in on any of this? Yeah. Well, you guys don't want to be asked the questions. You know why you're making videos and not doing press conferences? Because you don't want to be asked the questions. So, first question, even to a bad reporter. Here's what the first question would be. So, Mr. Attorney General, or Attorney General Brown, Governor Ferguson, you guys said there would be no wealth flight as a result of the income tax. But since you passed the income tax, we've seen lots of companies leave, including Starbucks, moving to Nashville, and we've seen lots of billionaires leave, including Howard Schultz. Can you explain that? That is the first question they will get. You said no capital flight, and there's capital flight. So, explain that one to me. Right now, in fact, the Washington state unemployment numbers are higher than the national average. Yeah, we keep creating jobs in this country, but Washington state seems to be having a little bit of a problem. Now, this jobs report came out, and the headline for it for Washington state is Washington state added jobs in May. But that's not the full report. This is a very Joe Biden report. And the media just went with the good news. They didn't actually read the press release. The press release has all the bad news in it if you actually know what you're reading. I assume you guys just like printing press releases for the government as opposed to actually questioning it at all. You just cut and paste it, put it into ChatGPT and say, make this into an article. Washington State added jobs in May, but the state's unemployment rate remains stubbornly high than the national average as layoffs, corporate restructuring, and out-of-state expansions continue to weigh on the labor market. According to new data from the Washington Employment Security Department, the unemployment rate remained unchanged at 5.2%, marking the third consecutive month at or above that level. Washington's unemployment rate remains nearly a full percentage point higher than the national rate of 4.3%. The longer-term trend remains concerning. From May 2025 to May 2026, Washington lost 7,700 jobs, a 0.2% year-over-year decline. So while they talk about adding all these jobs, they're not talking about how many net they are losing. And it keeps getting worse and worse. Oh, look, we added all these jobs. Yeah, but you're not factoring in the ones that you lost. The number of unemployed Washingtonians also continued to edge upward. Statewide unemployment increased from 212,230 people to 212,412 people. Now, while that might be a small difference, the numbers are going in the wrong direction. So they say the state gained an estimated 10,600 jobs in May on a seasonally adjusted basis. What that means is they're not factoring in the kids' summer jobs, and also there's not that many kids getting summer jobs anymore. But don't forget, that does include all the people that came to work for the stadiums and stuff. While the monthly job gains offered some positive news after 2 consecutive months of losses, state economists cautioned against reading too much into a single month's data. So this is the problem you have going on here. You've had consecutive months of job loss. 1 month of job gains does not outweigh the amount of losses you've had so far because it's pretty bad. Let's not forget the Downtown Seattle Association report that we discussed the other day found that downtown Seattle has lost approximately 30,000 jobs since 2020, while neighboring Bellevue has added jobs and experienced stronger commercial growth. Seattle office vacancy rates remain above 30%, among the highest levels on record. Last report we saw of those was 35%. Meta recently confirmed nearly 1,400 layoffs in King County. Starbucks announced their layoffs, and of course that they're hiring people in Nashville, Tennessee, which means they're just getting out of here. Janicki Industries selected Montana for an $800 million expansion to create more than 2,000 jobs, specifically blaming Washington's regulatory environment for slowing future growth. Genie Industries, Novanta, Republic National Distributing Company, Delta Camshaft, many others have announced layoffs, relocations, or closures or operational reductions affecting hundreds of Washington workers. So the Employment Security Department, Freudian slip there, reported that the strongest job gains in May came from leisure and hospitality, which added 4,800 jobs, followed by manufacturing and construction. Why did leisure and hospitality add so many jobs? Because of the World Cup. Are those jobs going to stick around afterwards? So when they say they were seasonally adjusted jobs, were they actually seasonally adjusted jobs? Because I don't believe they actually were. I don't believe so at all. If you're adding in all these jobs from the hotel industry, those hotels are going to go back to the way they were as soon as September rolls around. That's exactly what's going to happen. And yet, despite these terrible job losses and these employment numbers, we're still spending out of control, completely out of control spending. So according to Como News, Seattle Mayor Katie Wilson announced a new funding opportunity designed to help residents remain housed and prevent homelessness before it begins. Oh, we're giving out free money to people whose lives are too expensive? Kevin, we can apply for a grant from the city. This will be I like this idea. I'll take free money, sure. On Wednesday, Wilson and the Seattle Human Services Department released a request for proposals that will provide approximately $8 million in funding for 2027 for homeless prevention services, including rental assistance, eviction prevention, legal services, case management, and a new centralized application system intended to simplify access to support. Any of that sound like drug treatment to you? Does any of that sound like drug treatment? Anything? No, of course not. None of that's about drug treatment. Over 80% of the people on the streets have a substance abuse problem, and yet they're not dealing with it. You know what? You want your money to go to a better place? Give it to We Heart Seattle and give it to the More We Love. the two agencies that are actually doing good work in Seattle. How do I know? They document their numbers. They show everything. And I know a lot of people in the city who say, I wish we could give the contracts to them because they actually accomplish stuff, but I'm really stuck giving it to Homeless Inc. because they have their union flunkies. You had Andrea Suarez and Christine Moreland. After that report we did with Jonathan Cho, they went back to Lewis Park, which is right next to the Dr. Jose Rizal Bridge. If you don't know which bridge that is, it's when you're coming down from Beacon Hill into Chinatown. And we went to Lewis Park, which is controlled by Honduran drug gangs. We couldn't go through it because it was so unsafe. We actually had stuff thrown at us. We had to leave. It was so dangerous. But Andrea Suarez, Christine Moreland went back in daytime, found one of the women they had seen on the video, and got her into shelter. Give a listen.
Yeah, it's disheartening that this is our new norm.
We're going to go up into Lewis Park and offer resources.
Have you been staying out here alone? Has anybody ever tried to help you before, Queen? Can you look at me for a minute? I'd love to be able to help you. I mean that. I come from this world. You understand? Like, I come from this world. I get it. I hear it. It's not easy. Somebody's willing to help you. You know? Do you have access to a phone? What if I got you somewhere safe tonight? Just take a breath, you can take a shower, you can take a bath. Does that sound good? Is that? What if you went right now? Yeah, you want to go away? You want to walk with us and get the fuck out of here? Let's do it. If I got you somewhere safe, maybe we could take a few of these folks and bring them in, and then we could wrap them up with some of those resources that they...
Yeah, they went in there, and they stopped all the... They went in there, and they got that woman out of there for treatment. They got her out of there, and they took her out for treatment. They got her out. And they got her into a hotel for the night. And now that woman, hopefully, can be on the path to recovery. Hopefully. That's what we hope. Now, I'll tell you guys, is that if you want to save a whole bunch of money, don't spend it on more failed programs. You give it to We Heart Seattle. You give it to Christine Moreland. You give it to these guys, and they can actually help people out. They can do that. So, my friends, it's a choice now. Do you want to waste more money on failed programs, or do you want to fund things that actually work? Seattle Mayor Katie Wilson wants to fund more failed programs, which is just bonkers crazy. That is the world we live in right now. Lots more to discuss as the show continues, my friends, including what you have to sign to be a member of the Democrat Socialists of America. Some of them are winning across the country, including here in Washington State, and what they're agreeing to is pretty horrific. Is it coming your way? Is it coming to your kids' schools? Tell you all about it when we come back. You're listening to the Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI. I think everybody hated standardized testing when they were kids, right? The wassels or whatever they used to be called around here in New York, we had the regents. Standardized testing sucks. It absolutely sucks. And then you got to take this test. And you thought it was for statistical reasons. You're like, why am I spending all the time taking this stupid test? Am I going to end up in summer school? That was the big rumor at the time. Oh, if you do bad on your wassels or your regents, you're going to summer school, right? That's what they always used to say. Yeah, not really a thing. Turns out these things were very effective at tracking progress for kids. Are they at grade level? Are they not at grade level? Can we track them? Can we not track them? The SATs are stupid. Very, very stupid. It is a mafia. Oh, well, we need you to take this test or you don't have a future or you can't go to college. You need to take this test, and if you don't do well like Zach Morris getting a 1,600 on his SATs and Saved by the Bell, you're not going to Harvard. You're not going, right? We all remember these days? Okay. Well, it turns out you need some kind of metric. When even California is saying their ban on these kind of tests might be a problem. University of California announced earlier this week that it's launching a comprehensive review of its standardized testing policy. The pivot follows a massive revolt by faculty members who warn they are being forced to reteach middle school mathematics to incoming university students. Oh, do you mean that when you have no standards whatsoever and you just keep passing kids and passing kids and passing kids, you might have a problem? Hang on, can we do a little math here for a second? Okay, hang on one second. We'll just do a little math here. It's been 6 years since COVID, right? So a kid who was in 6th grade at the beginning of COVID is now a senior in high school. Then a kid who was in 7th grade is now a freshman in college, assuming they didn't take a gap year. A kid who was in 8th grade during COVID is now a sophomore in college, assuming they didn't take a gap year. Do you see what problem they're now dealing with? Remember what was going on during COVID? Oh, just pass the kid. Just pass the kid. Pass or fail. Or, you know what, it doesn't even matter if you fail. Let's just advance you up a grade. Let's just keep advancing you. If even the University of California is recognizing there might be a problem here, you got a really big problem here. Huge problem here. Quote, the Board of Regents and university leadership take very seriously a critical issue of college preparedness. And the UC Academic Senate has proposed a comprehensive data-driven review to support its recommendations to strengthen student readiness and success at UC. There are a few things more important on our agenda. There are fewer things more important on our agenda, is what they're saying. So they want to focus on both preparation and admissions, including whether standardized testing should be reinstated as a requirement. The UC Board of Regents are expected to receive an initial update on the findings in July. I would be fascinated to see what these say. Don't get me wrong. I hate standardized testing. I hate the SATs, but they were a good metric, apparently, for letting you know whether or not a kid could do them or not. It's not the SATs tracked how smart you were. The SATs realized, can you take a test? Can you succeed in an academic environment? Do I like that you have this mafia of the SATs and then, well, we're going to make sure there's this test you have to take. Then you have to take the class so you can do well on the test you have to take, and we own all of it. Do I think that's good? No, I don't think that's good. But you need some kind of metric. Now, what's interesting is the Democratic Socialists of America have figured out their own little metric of things to track. So the Democratic Socialists of America, their candidate questionnaire for Washington state public sector employee unions, including teachers' unions, use this form to determine whether or not to endorse politicians. Okay? Would you like to know some of the questions here? Do you support or oppose the statewide ballot initiative to prevent certain students from participating in sports? Well, that's written in an interesting way. You know what that actually is? A person who doesn't look that up goes, yeah, everybody should participate in sports. What it actually should be regarding this one, do you support or oppose a statewide ballot initiative to prevent boys playing in girls' sports? How do you plan to support or expand workers' rights, including the right to organize, the right to strike, and the right to workplace democracy? How do you plan to support and expand reproductive rights? By that, they mean abortions. How do you plan to support and expand tenant rights? By that, they mean rent control. How do you plan to protect the right to freely express one's gender? How will you advocate for indigenous sovereignty? I'm going to do a land acknowledgement before we open the Barack Hussein Obama Library. That's how we're going to do it. We're going to do a land acknowledgement every time. We're going to acknowledge that land so hard, they've never been acknowledged that much before in their lives. We're going to acknowledge them. That's what we're going to do. Give me a break. Give me an absolute break. This is what they said earlier.
We'd also like to take a moment to recognize the original inhabitants of the land upon which we are gathered today. We honor the Anishinaabe, the Council of Three Fires, the Ojibwe, the Odawa, and the Potawatomi nations.
Something tells me the Council of Three Fires were not indigenous to this area. You know how I know that? They don't got a fun, cool Native American-sounding name. I assume that, Ishisaka Kamaturo, whatever it is that they're saying for these other guys, I assume there's some Indian name for the Council of Three Fires. I assume it wasn't the white man's language. Okay? That's just process of elimination there, guys. How will you protect community members currently being targeted by immigration and customs enforcement and other federal measures? Oh, you mean illegal aliens? Do you support the boycott, divest, sanction effort against the ongoing genocide of Gaza? I'm sorry, what do state candidates have anything to do with foreign policy? What does Israel have to do with any of this? By the way, this is nothing new. In front of me, I have Sean Scott, the communist representative from Seattle, who's now in the legislature. Somebody slipped me a copy of his endorsement form from when he ran for Seattle City Council. That's right, my friends. Here's one of the questions. How would you work to end the deadly exchange between the Seattle Police Department and the Israeli Defense Forces? He doesn't want them doing counterterrorism training. That was a question. What would you do to oppose our imperialist foreign policy and runaway influence of the military-industrial complex? This is stuff they're asking Sean Scott when he wanted to run for Seattle City Council. That's what they're asking. And if you don't answer every single one of these exactly right, you ain't getting their endorsement, which means you're not getting a D next to your name, which means guess what? You ain't winning here in Washington. Oh, there's even crazier questions than that. But you know what? We got a 3-hour radio show and more things to get to. Because when we come back, my friends, we're going to give you a count on how many of those signatures we have for the initiative process, how many more we need, and what you can do to help. Brian Haywood joins us next. You're listening to The Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI. My friends, we are undertaking a huge effort right now, and that is to repeal the Democrats' income tax. And we know the challenges we're having. If the abuse of signature gatherers has gotten so bad that Nick Brown even has to do 2 social media posts about it, then you know it's really, really bad. They are doing everything they can to try and stop us, and already we're at record-breaking numbers. We're not where we need to be yet, and we still need more signatures. Joining us now to discuss on the KVI studio line, the founder of Let's Go Washington, Brian Haywood. Thank you so much for being with us today, buddy.
My pleasure. Thank you for covering this. I think it's really important in this state.
Well, we all know that it's not just a millionaire tax. We all know it's coming for the rest of us. I mean, let's just break it down real quick, like we've done 100 times on the show. If it wasn't coming for the rest of us, they would have codified that in the law. They refused to do so. If it wasn't coming for the rest of us, they wouldn't have hired over 300 Washington Department of Revenue workers. They wouldn't have done that. You don't need 300 people to deal with taxes of such a small group. They're chasing out all these businesses, and Bob Ferguson himself even admitted we now have a revenue problem despite passing this thing. So did I miss anything?
Well, I think that not only is it 300 people, but they allocated $500 million to collect the tax, which tells you they're building an infrastructure that's aimed at everybody. And I think Jamie Peterson has basically flat out said he wants an income tax. So he's not hiding that. The others are still pretending that they're, oh, no, this is just on rich people. But I'll tell you what I'm hearing around the state when I go and collect signatures. This has been the easiest signature collection drive that we've ever done because people are mad at all levels. And I'm hearing from everyday average Washingtonians who just can't afford to live here. And everyone's talking about this capital flight of all the rich people that are going to move out, and that's certainly happening. But I hear from people every day I'm moving to Idaho, I'm moving to Montana, who they're $30 card tabs that cost $600, and their property taxes that keep going up, and their CCA gas taxes that they're paying that just got raided. And people sense this at a visceral level. I don't know if anybody has a list on their wall of all the things, but they feel it every time they go to the grocery store, every bit of it. And this income tax came along. I think the Democrats in Olympia really miscalculated because they put this thing through thinking they're going to ride a wave of anti-rich people, eat the rich. And the average person here knows they're getting beat up all the time. And even Gregoire is saying, right, the $30 billion used to be the budget. Now it's $80 billion. The question that everybody's asking themselves is, are the roads twice as good? No, actually they're worse. How about schools? At least the schools are good. No, we're down below Mississippi now. And we just fell another couple of notches, right? We went from 27th to 34th or something like that.
Yeah.
When I moved here 15, 16 years ago, Washington had some of the greatest schools in the entire nation. And it was one of the attractive points.
Yeah.
And everyone's feeling that. Like if you have to ride the ferry, oh, now we paid 4 times the amount of it for a ferry, but it's only on the water half the time. Everything everything costs twice as much, but we're getting like half of what we used to get under the old price.
Yeah.
And then people feel it, right?
Yeah, I mean, look, when I drive the roads these days, and I drive a lowrider car, and everybody knows that, and maybe this is my problem because everybody else drives SUVs, I feel every single bump in the road. And they don't repair them. And what's crazy to me is, let's just take Seattle for a minute. I live right near the mayor. He drives on those roads too, and he didn't realize how bad it was. But are the highways any better? No. Are they trying to make them better? Here's the thing. I don't understand how when I go to the Middle East, those roads are still intact, and those things are 3,000 years old. If they patched these things last week, there was one near my house that they patched. It's literally caving into the ground right now, and everybody's avoiding the thing. The schools are dropping. They just dropped another 10 places on the charts. Criminals are not being prosecuted. Oh, look, everything looks pretty for the World Cup, but we know what it really looks like in the surrounding areas. Nothing's gotten better here. It's just gotten more expensive. So, Brian, right now you have the signature gatherers out there, but not everybody can get to the signature gatherers. I'm a little concerned about relying on the post office to mail these things out and have people return them in time. So what should people be doing right now if they want these initiative pages? What's the best plan for them?
Well, so we've been testing the mail, and if they have it, we've sent everybody a postage paid so they can send it through the mail. And if they postmark it by the 22nd, we're pretty confident we'll get them if they postmark it by the 22nd, right? That's pretty soon. But then if they go to letsgowa.com, letsgowa.com, there are several places that they can go and drop these off. Uh, and uh, and there are stores and sort of locations all around the state. We've got maybe close to 100 places that they can go and drop them off. And we run collections on those so they don't sit there. And we're collecting them every single day. And I think that's the biggest thing is get them turned in, get them turned in, get them turned in, get them turned in. Now, if you've got a half a sheet, go ahead and mail it to us and turn it in. If you want another sheet, we'll send it out and see if we can get it done. And in fact, what I don't mind, my target is 700,000 signatures, right? We need 309,000 is what you need as a minimum. We're at 317,000 now. You need 400,000 really to be safe. So we're still collecting in that zone. And I believe we'll hit over 400,000 this coming week. What I'd really like to do is hit 700,000 because that would be the most signatures ever gathered in the state of Washington. The last time anyone got close was 1973 when they collected 699,098 signatures because they were pissed off because Olympia had just voted itself a pay raise in the middle of the 1970s oil crisis, right?
Yeah.
And I think this is as equally tone deaf, this income tax now. And so it'd be great to do 700,000. I was doing the math. When we gathered signatures for stopping the natural gas ban, that one was up until that point had been the most aggressive we'd ever seen, 65,000 signatures in the first week compared to usually 30, 40,000. And then we got 92,000 in that first week. Under natural gas, we averaged about 56,000 signatures a week. We've been averaging about 80,000 a week on this one. And I did this math calculation. If we keep up the same relative pace, we could be well over 700,000 because we got 150,000 each week in the last 2 weeks on the natural gas.
Amazing.
And I think on a relative basis, that would equal like 200,000 a week now. That would be phenomenal. If we can pull that off, we send a very clear message to Olympia.
Yeah, and also we want your sheets before then, but I'll tell you this, is that next Sunday, the 27th, the 28th, me and Brian are going to be out in Bellevue. And we're going to be out there. We'll have the KVI gear. We'll have everything out there. Let's Go Washington stuff. If you want to come meet us in person, if you want to come drop off your stuff, I will shake your babies and I will kiss your hands. Wait, I think I got that backward. I will kiss your babies. I will shake your hands. We will both say hi to them. Brian and I will both kiss your babies. It'll be fun. Come on out there. Bring us your signature sheets. But if you can, please return them before then. And also remember to go to letsgowashington.com, letsgowa.com. If you haven't done so already, request those signature sheets. And if you have them sitting around your house, mail them in, even if it's just your signature. Nobody's going to judge you. Even if it's just your and your wife's or you and your kids or whatever it is, nobody will judge you. Every single signature matters. And it just means more boxes for us, and that's perfectly fine. Brian Haywood, founder of Let's Go Washington, thank you so much for fighting so hard on behalf of everybody here in Washington. We really do appreciate it.
Thank you. Appreciate everybody out there gathering signatures.
Always a pleasure. We got a whole lot more to discuss as the show continues. You're listening to the Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI. Welcome back to the Ari Hoffman Show. Just want to remind everybody we are running 2 contests this week. Today, you can enter to win 4 tickets to the Bremerton Air Show on July 12th. That's right, the Bremerton Air Show is taking flight July 11th through 12th at the Bremerton National Airport. It'll be a celebration of classic military aircraft and world-class aerobatic performers. You can find something for everybody at the Bremerton Air Show. To get tickets, please visit bremertonairshow.com. But if you want to win 4 tickets, head on over to our website, kvi.com. Enter your information on the contest page for your chance to win 4 tickets. And don't forget, I will be out there on Sunday. That's right, I will be out there Sunday, July 12th. So, can say hi to you, can take pictures with you, can sign things, whatever it is. I am happy to be out there. Plus, we'll have some KVI giveaway items. We go to the KVI studio line, take a call from George in University Place. George, what's going on, man?
Hey, heard you talking about millionaires fleeing the state, upper middle class fleeing the state, take their wealth with them. Now, here's the thing, is that they're the ones who've been donating money to Democrats. They're the ones that vote for socialist Democrats. They're the ones with a rainbow flag in front of their big house. The only time you see a Trump flag, it's in front of a house made before 1980.
Well, I wouldn't. I'm not sure I entirely agree with you, George. Let me tell you why. How many friends you got left in this state?
You know what? Mixed, because I'm ex-military. I got friends all over the world. But I am a native Washingtonian. I remember I grew up in this state when I had more loggers and yuppies.
Okay, well, I'll tell you this, is that my community, a lot of my conservative friends don't live here anymore. And in fact, according to the polling, what we're seeing is 1 million Californians moved into Washington. So for every Howard Schultz that you're right about, supported every leftist, liberal cause and used Starbucks to do it, for every Howard Schultz you hear about, there's a lot more other people leaving the state. And a lot of people go, I can't anymore. It's the taxes, it's the that, and most of them who are leaving are us. Let me give you something for comparison. During COVID, do you remember Lee Zeldin ran for governor of New York? He lost by about 400,000 votes to Kathy Hochul, right? Do you know that 500,000 people moved to Florida? And all the people I know who moved to Florida from New York are definitely not the lefty types. They are the conservative types. And a lot of people left during COVID. Most of the people I know who left, most of the people I know who left are conservative.
My brother's in Florida. He bought a house there after retiring from the Army.
Mm-hmm.
And his neighbors are a bunch of liberals from Jersey. You know, Jersey, that's how they say it. They say it Jersey.
Yes, I know. It's right next to where I grew up.
They're all liberal.
Yeah,
okay.
But they come here so they can vote their conscience, George. They come here to go, well, you know, I didn't like it so much there anymore, but I want to come out here and vote my conscience. But then you realize you're surrounded by the same leftist policies you tried to flee, right? This is what we're seeing. So, yeah, I would say, I hear what you're saying. Are there lefties leaving because they voted for all this? Yes. And then they can vote their conscience in Florida. I agree with you. But I will tell you something is that I think the vast majority, according to the data I have seen, who are leaving are actually conservative, which make it a lot harder for us. Appreciate the call. Appreciate you being part of the show. You want to be part of the show, you give us a call or a text at 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. Got a lot of texts here. This one here from the 360. Oh, sorry. This is from the 12th Man for Life. So he wants to tell everybody we're up to over 365,000 signatures for the income tax and more for the voter ID. Oh, no, wait. These are the ones he's collected himself. He's collected 365 signatures himself and 359 for voter ID. He says he's getting close to his 500 go. So he's doing a great job. 12th Man for Life. By the way, my friend, if you tag me in a post about where you're going to be, I will tell people where you will be. For example, our friend Mother Teresa, the signature gatherer, she is out at the farmer's market today. It's Snohomish on 105 Cedar Avenue. She's going to be there until 7 o'clock. She's going to be, oh, I'm sorry, this is tomorrow. Today, wait, what's today? Today, Thursday? Kevin, what day of the week is today? Is today Thursday? It's so hot in here, I don't know.
Today is Thursday.
Today is Thursday. She is out there today until 7 o'clock. That's right. So that's her plan. She also plans to be at the Berry Dairy Days Kickoff Festival tomorrow. Also, don't forget, you can go on over to letsgowashington.com, and they will tell you where you're going to be. 12th Man for Life. If you want me to tell everybody where you're going to be, send me the information about where you're going to be. We will make sure to tell everybody. Make sure to tell everybody so that way they can come out and sign these forms. This one here says they are packing up the rig for some more signature gathering. See, guys, this is how you do it. This is all grassroots. These aren't paid signature gatherers. These are people who listen to the show. These are people who are just like you, and these are people who are here staying to fight because of the amount of problems we're having here in Washington. We got to get voter ID on the ballot, and we got to repeal the income tax. Got to make sure this happens. So, my friends, remember to go to letsgowashington.com. You go to letsgowashington.com. You can request the signature sheets, but you're running out of time because the post office isn't the most reliable thing. And if you're going to mail them back, you got to do it now. Send them back. Some reports are saying, oh, we've already collected as many as we need. No, my friends, we need more. So help us out. Up next, my friends, I am pretty ticked at J.D. Vance. And if he was a Democrat and said the things he's saying now, we would be tearing him apart. We're going to give you all the details on the bad MOU when we come back. You're listening to the Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI. Welcome to the Ari Hoffman Show's final hour free-for-all. Your calls, your texts, your thoughts, your stories, streaming live at KVI.com and the KVI app. If you want to be part of the most dangerous show on the airwaves, call or text the KVI studio line at 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. Coming up this hour, 2 chances to win fantabulous prizes. And Katie Wilson says she's doing a cleanup, but is she really doing a cleanup of one of Seattle's most notorious areas? But before we get to any of that, my friends, top news story of the day is still the U.S.-Iran MOU. This memorandum of understanding, is a train wreck disaster. It does not do any of the things that J.D. Vance or the president say. This is J.D. Vance's deal. That's why he's out there shilling for it. And if he was a Democrat, every Republican would be tearing him apart for his false talking points. They just ain't true. I will debunk them one by one by one. Here's the thing about J.D. Vance. When J.D. Vance was first picked, and you can go back and check the tape on it, I said, would have kind of preferred somebody else. That's what I said. And then he did the debate against Tim Walz. And I said, this guy's brilliant. Great debater. Brilliant. Knows the stuff. Really, really, just really good, really polished. Really good at what he says. I kind of understand why they picked him. And then there were some things he said from time to time where I said, are those taken out of context? Is this really the guy? Is this really who he is? And then when you listen to the full context, it sounded a little bit better, but not great. And, all right, got to go back and forth on J.D. Vance, back and forth on J.D. Vance. This is J.D. Vance's deal. It's not good. It's really not good. I know a lot of people said Tucker Carlson and him and his son works. Tucker Carlson's son works for J.D. Vance. Yeah, I don't normally judge people based on the kid, but it's like Tucker Carlson is out there shilling for this deal. It's a train wreck disaster. It's a bad deal. And some of the stuff J.D. Vance is saying kind of made me right, and a lot of other people too. Let me give you an example. So he's out there saying that people in Israel shouldn't be mad about this deal. Let me tell you something. People in Israel and America should be bad about this deal. Let me tell you why. What were the objectives of the war? 1, no nuclear weapons for Iran. 2, no ballistic missiles for Iran. 3, no funding terror. 4, no control for Iran of the Strait of Hormuz. We're not getting any of those. We're not getting any of those right now. We capitulated on every single one. I've got the text of the MOU right in front of me. Section 1. The United States of America and the Islamic Republic of Iran and their allies in the current war, by signing this MOU, declare the immediate and permanent termination of military operations on all fronts, including in Lebanon. Well, the only ones fighting in Lebanon is Hezbollah, a terrorist organization, and they're launching rockets at Israel. In fact, after this thing was signed, guess what they did? They launched rockets at Israel. So Israel responds by launching rockets at them. Hezbollah has killed over 280 Americans in the last 40 years. Over 280 Americans. So you don't care about Israel? This terrorist organization killed Americans. Need I remind everybody of the Marine barracks bombing in Beirut? 241 of them right there on that day alone. I say terrorist organization. That says death to America. That says death to Israel. Why is Lebanon included here? Lebanon isn't at war with Israel. In fact, they're about to sign some peace deals. Hezbollah is a terrorist organization inside of Lebanon. And this thing doesn't include Israel at all. So Iran wanted an excuse, and Iran said, well, if Israel keeps bombing our terror proxy Hezbollah, we got a problem. U.S., you have to stop them. So right there, what you're saying is they're still funding terror. They're still going to fund terror. They're still going to fund terrorist organizations because the very first paragraph of this thing is looking out for Hezbollah. In fact, Lebanon is mentioned 3 times. So they will permanent termination of military operations on all fronts, including in Lebanon, undertake from now not to initiate any war or military operation against each other, and to refrain from the threat or use of force against each other, and ensuring the territorial integrity and sovereignty of Lebanon. The final deal will confirm the permanent termination of the war on all fronts, including in Lebanon. There's a lot of discussion about Lebanon in here, which means Iran still wants its terror proxy. Right there, you got a problem. So J.D. Vance is very, very mad that everybody's picking up on this. So he was over on the New York Times podcast today, and here's what he said.
But yeah, you've seen people in their system, Ben-Gvir and Smotrich, who've attacked the deal. And I guess my response to them would be, what is your exact proposal? And, you're a country of 9 million people. You can't just kill your way out of solving every single national security problem that you have.
Okay, stop right there. You can't just kill your way out of every national security problem. Should we go through a little history lesson with you there, JD? Because it sounds like you've been getting it from Tucker Carlson. Sounds like you've been getting it from the Megyn Kellys of the world. 1947, Israel accepted the UN partition plan, accepted a Jewish state, and the Arab side rejected it. 1949, armistice agreements with Egypt, Lebanon, Jordan, Syria, ended the active war lines. Israel still did not gain a formal peace, but agreed to it anyway. 1978, Camp David Accords, framework for Egyptian peace, Palestinian autonomy talks. Guess what? Israel agreed to it. Guess who didn't? 1979, Egypt-Israel peace treaty. Return the entire Sinai Peninsula to Egypt. Even though it had been won in war. 1983, Israel-Lebanon. The U.S. stopped Israel from wiping out Hezbollah in 1983, but they agreed to it. And guess who broke the deal later? 1993, the first Oslo Accords. Recognized the PLO as a negotiating partner, agreed to a Palestinian self-government. Guess who rejected it? And homicide bombings, suicide bombings went up. 1994, Gaza-Jericho agreement. Israel withdrawal from Gaza. Jericho areas created a Palestinian Authority governance, even though they hadn't kept the first batch of agreements. 1994, Israel-Jordan peace treaty. That one actually held. 1995, Oslo II. Divided the West Bank into areas A, B, and C, transferred civil security powers to the Palestinian Authority, and Israel has had to go in ever since because they've let it turn into a terrorist cesspool. 1997, Hebron proposal, withdrew from roughly 80% of Hebron to Palestinian control. Guess what happened to it? 1998, Y River Memorandum, further phased West Bank, redeployments tied to PA security steps. 2020, Abraham Accords with the UAE. That worked out. 2020, Abraham Accords with Bahrain, Morocco, Sudan. Those all worked out okay. 1982, final Sinai withdrawal. Israel left the area. 2000, Lebanon withdrawal. 2005, Gaza withdrawal. 2000, Camp David Accords with Bill Clinton. And guess what? Israel offered the Palestinians 90% of what they wanted, and they still walked away, rejected it, launched a second intifada. 2008, the Olmert Abbas offer Palestinian state on most of the West Bank with swaps and shared Jerusalem concepts. No signed deal because the Palestinians rejected it. 2010, they even did a settlement freeze. Israel has tried to broker peace at every single step. They don't just blow up everything, JD. They don't just do that. But that's what J.D. Vance said. Like Tucker Carlson coming out of his mouth. That's what it sounds like to me. Tucker Carlson talking points. I was a little lukewarm on J.D. Vance before. I'm pretty concerned now, especially after this comment he made on another podcast while shilling this terrible deal.
Do I think that there are maybe, I don't know if Bibi thinks this, but do I think there are people within Israeli society who would like to turn Iran into Libya, basically a failed state with 90 million people? Probably, but I don't know that Bibi wants that. I've actually never had that conversation with him. It'd be an interesting conversation to have. I'll tell you right now, is Iran turning into a Persian Libya good for the United States of America? Absolutely not.
Okay. Well, guess what? Iran is a failed state. That's what it is. It was failed before we showed up. And this deal isn't going to fix it. In fact, upon the signing of this memorandum, the U.S. was required to release sanctions on oil so Iran could start selling oil again. So anybody who's saying, including J.D. Vance, who's saying this doesn't give Iran anything without us able to monitor their progress and we don't give them any, we literally released those sanctions today. We released those sanctions today so they could start selling oil. Literally did it today. It's in the MOU. It's literally in that. And if they have money, the number one sponsor of terror in the world, what do you think they're going to be sponsoring? What's going to happen right now is you're negotiating with the IRGC, a terrorist organization who has killed thousands of their own people, never mind the Americans that Iran has had a hand in killing for the last 50 years, over 1,000 of them. Why do you think they're going to agree at all? Why do you think that? And why do you think they're not going to fund terror? Of course they're going to fund terror. What about ballistic missiles? Nowhere in this MOU, nowhere does it say anything about ballistic missiles. I've got the thing in front of me, nowhere. Yet here's what the VP said today.
So we destroyed a substantial number of their ballistic missiles and their ballistic missile launchers themselves. It's not just the bullets, but it's the actual gun. And that's what we were extremely effective at in destroying during the last 3 months of the campaign. All the president said yesterday is that, of course, countries don't give up the right of self-defense. Israel doesn't give up the right of self-defense if Hezbollah fires rockets or drones at Israel. The Iranians don't give up the right of self-defense in their country. But we do expect that as part of the final deal, they are not going to be able to build the kind of missiles that can broadly threaten the entire world. And that's what the President of the United States said yesterday. And look, I mean, it's very simple. You can't tell a country, whether Israel or Iran, they're not allowed to have any self-defense. That's not what the president has asked. That's not what the president has requested. But as part of the final deal, what we want to see is Iran not funding regional instability, funding regional terrorism, and of course trying to rebuild their nuclear weapons program.
Stop right there. If they're rebuilding their defenses, one of the reasons we did this war in the first place is because their missile shield, their ballistic missile shield was going to be such a threat, we wouldn't have been able to go in and take out the nukes. You're letting them rebuild it right now. They lost. They don't get to defend themselves until they prove they can be responsible country operating in the world economy. So, no, they don't get the ballistic missiles. And he literally just said right there, they're going to get to keep their ballistic missiles. That's what he just said. He also said, oh, they're not going to fund terror. And yet, who are they funding? Hezbollah. Why does he keep bringing up Israel? What does Israel have to do with any of this? Nothing. He keeps bringing it up because he's trying to make the both sides argument. And that's a bad argument to make. Then he said this, which isn't true at all.
The part of the peace plan, the part of this MOU that I think have been most misrepresented by certain parts of the media is the idea that the Iranians get all these benefits. You will hear things about $300 billion or $24 billion or this or that number of money or amount of money. And the simple fact is that the only way the Iranians get any of those resources, not a single penny, by the way, from the United States of America under any circumstances, but the only way that they would ever get any benefit of the bargain is if they comply fully and change their behavior. And so you really have a win-win situation for the United States of America.
Not true. Section 10, the United States of America undertakes that immediately upon signing this MOU and until the termination of sanctions, the U.S. Department of Treasury will issue waivers for the export of Iranian crude oil, petroleum products, and derivatives, and all associated services, including banking transactions, insurances, transportation, etc. I thought they don't get anything. I thought they don't get anything without performing. What have they performed? They've performed nothing. And yet you have given them the ability to sell oil again. If this was a Democrat, everybody in conservative land would be shredding him for lying. It is a bad deal. He's a very convincing salesman. Too bad it's not true. It's not true. We also know that in this thing, they agreed to the status quo of nukes for now. The status quo means, guess what? They still have nuclear material. Yeah, they claim they're going to go in and get it. But the status quo is that they still have nuclear material. So that is the status quo. Here, I'll read it for you. 9, pending the final deal, the United States of America and the Islamic Republic of Iran agree to maintain the status quo. The Islamic Republic of Iran will maintain the current status quo of its nuclear program, and the United States of America will not impose any new sanctions and will not deploy any additional forces to the region. That's your status quo. That means you can have nukes. I understand they say this thing that maybe we'll go in and get them, and maybe we'll get rid of them. Section 9. Read it for yourselves, guys. It literally says maintain the status quo. This is not a good deal. This is a terrible, horrible, no good, very bad deal, as a matter of fact, because it is not performance-based. It already gave them the ability to sell oil again, which means already they have money, which means already they have a way to start fixing their economy, which was brought to its knees. That's capitulation. That is capitulation. This is not a good deal. J.D. Vance is selling. He has a bad hand, and he is going all in on them. Why? Because he's worried that Marco Rubio is more popular than him, and people want Marco Rubio to be president next time, and he's not going to win the nomination. So he's pushing a bad deal. There are better ways to do this deal. And we know this isn't the final deal. This is a memorandum of understanding, but this is a bad deal. This is a super bad deal. You agree with me? You disagree with me? Give me a call or a text at 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757, because looking at this deal, they still have the nukes, they can still build ballistic missiles, and they can still fund terror, according to this deal. It didn't achieve our objectives. It did reopen the Strait of Hormuz, but guess who's still in charge of it? Iran. None of the objectives accomplished. None. That's why this is a bad deal. Let me know what you think. 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. We go to the KVI studio line, take a call from Gerald in Federal Way. Gerald, what's going on, man?
Yeah, I can only hope President Trump has something up his sleeve, and I think Vance is killing his presidential chances. But anyway, however, about Attorney General Brown, he's supposed to be looking out for our interests, but it looks like he's actually the consigliere for the Ferguson mob. And
yes.
Why don't we just save a lot of hassle and not have an election for governor? Just make it automatic that the Attorney General becomes the next governor, since that's what happens anyway.
Well, that's why we have the initiative right now to ensure voter ID. That's what we're working on right now, and this thing really has to pass this time, because last time there wasn't as much of an effort as there is this time. Really, we need to get that thing on the ballot. We really, really need to, because so many people right now go, my vote doesn't matter anyway. This is how you fix that.
You know, you just can't trust government. Look what they did to Smokey Bear. They took away his middle name. He used to be Smokey the Bear.
There's a lot of other reasons you can't trust the government. That's a fun one. I do like that one. Appreciate the call, Gerald. Appreciate you being part of the show. You want to be part of the show, you give us a call or text at 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. A lot of questions on the text line, as a matter of fact. Becky in Enumclaw says, it sounds terrible all the way around. Why is Trump allowing this? And I really like Marco Rubio. He's going to get my vote for president. Steve B says about the deal, unbelievable. Not in a good way. This one here from the 425, we aren't going in to get the nuclear waste. I mean, it says we're supposed to in theory, but it also says maintain the status quo. Which one is it? John in Lakewood, Ari, I agree. Iran is a terrorist nation and a failed state. For them, offense is their defense. They don't get to defend themselves anymore. I completely agree. From the 360, I really can't stand J.D. Vance. Where is Marco Rubio? Notice Marco Rubio isn't around right now. He isn't around right now. Somebody actually sent me a speech earlier today. I'll play it for you tomorrow, of what Rubio said in response to the Iran deal that Barack Obama negotiated. And I got to tell you guys, it's basically everything that's wrong with this one. Almost word for word. Almost word for word. This is bad. This is really, really bad. Super bad. This one here from the 425, they say the JCPOA limited nuclear enrichment. That is not true. It did not. It said to the Iranians, here's some money. Pretty please don't develop anything. And they kept doing it. Between American and Israeli actions, they kept preventing it up until a point where they couldn't prevent it anymore. And that's how we got to here. Now, I do appreciate that this person says they're glad I'm speaking honestly about it, because that's what we do. We call balls and strikes here. But no, the JCPOA did not limit nuclear enrichment. Otherwise, there would have been nothing to bomb in Fordo. Otherwise, there would have been no nuclear dust to go in and get. Didn't stop the Iranians from enriching anything, and neither will this deal. That's how bad it is. But feel free to give me a call, disagree, or agree with me, 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. Up next, my friends, Seattle Mayor Katie Wilson says she's finally going to clean up 12th and Jackson. Do you believe her? I don't. Tell you why when we come back. You're listening to The Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI. Welcome back to the Ari Hoffman Show. Just a reminder, my friends, we are running two contests today. The first one is to get two tickets to see Chris Tucker, comedy legend, at the Snoqualmie Casino and Hotel Ballroom on Friday, June 26. You can buy tickets at snocasino.com, but if you want to win them, or your chance to win them, text the word I give you to the number I give you right now. Today's word is Chris, as in Chris Tucker, as in Chris Columbus. Text the word Chris, C-H-R-I-S, to 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. Also a reminder, we are giving away 4 tickets to the Bremerton Air Show on July 11th and 12th. We will be out there on July 12th. I will say hi to you. I will take pictures with you. I will give you KVI stuff. It'll be fun. It'll be exciting. So if you want to enter to win 4 tickets to the Bremerton Air Show, head on over to KVI.com. Go over to the contest page for your chance to win. If you want to buy tickets to the Bremerton Air Show, go to BremertonAirShow.com. We go to the KVI studio line. Take a call from Shane in Anderson Island. Shane, what's going on?
Hey, how's it going? Ari, I love your show, man. It's great.
Thank you.
I sympathize with your frustration with this deal. I know a lot of people feel the same way. It's really hard to say what's going on behind the deal exactly. I mean, the deal is just a piece of paper that they signed. Who knows? What can you do with a piece of paper? Are they going to abide by it or not?
Yeah, I agree with you. And also, I'll say this. By the way, Shane, little side point here. I have a friend named Shane Anderson. So it's funny you're Shane from Anderson Island. I will not forget your name now. That's kind of funny. But I will tell you this, is that what's interesting to me, and I made this point yesterday, there is a way that this whole thing is 5D chess. There is 2 ways. There are 2 ways. This is 5D chess. Let me just work on them for a second. If it's like the Abraham Accords, where you say to your Gulf partners, we tried everything, guys, and they couldn't even follow this, where we gave them everything, and then you go back to doing what you're doing, and then you make peace with everybody else and get everybody else in the Abraham Accords, that's literally what they did with the Palestinians last time. That's option A. Option B. They're trying to scare the Arab states into helping the U.S. on the next round by saying they're still going to have the nukes, and they're still going to have the ballistic missiles, and they're still going to have this, and they're still going to have that. Hey, will you fight with us now? And then maybe they'll step up and fight. Those are the only 2 ways I could see happening behind the scenes. Aside from that, you're right. I don't know what's happening behind the scenes, but I don't even see any behind-the-scene logic on this.
Yeah. I think there's 2 wars going on, Ari. One war is the war with Iran and this regime. It's really not with Iran, because I'm actually from Iran.
Mm-hmm.
And I grew up there and came to the U.S. as a 12-year-old. And I could tell you a story, but we wouldn't have enough time. But these guys in Iran, with any deal, the people that I know, they're scammers, and they're just trying to con you, is what they're trying to do.
You know what I compared this to, Shane? You're going to love this. Shane, you're going to understand this as soon as I say it. If you go into any store in Israel or any store in any Arab country, is the price tag actually the price on the item?
No, I negotiated in New York at Macy's, so you don't. I negotiated at Macy's in New York. My white wife, almost left me.
So, to illustrate the point for what everybody else doesn't understand who's never been to these countries before, it's never the price. If you want an example of it, go watch Don't Mess with the Zohan with the Israeli electronics store. That's a good example of it, okay? But Shane, you know this. Anybody from the Middle East, master negotiators. And what I'm concerned about is exactly what you said. 42,000 protesters were killed by this regime just in the past couple months when they were rising up against the regime. There are people like you who came to this country to be free of this regime, and you want that freedom. And in fact, I know a whole bunch of Iranians are planning on protesting against the regime when the soccer team comes to Seattle. I can't wait to watch that. I hope everybody's safe. But the problem we have right here...
Yeah, I hope so, too.
Right, it's the Iranian...
Man, this regime has got to go. I mean, people... We got to stand up for these people that are getting killed. Yeah, I know it's not our war, and the Democrats don't want us there, and all this stuff, but this is death to America. I've seen them chant it, and I'm telling you, these guys are not. Once you have an enemy, all of a sudden you don't become friends.
I agree with you.
To tell you.
I agree with you. It was a lot easier to make the Abraham Accords because those other countries didn't really have beef with Israel. So it was easier to make those deals. This one's going to be a lot harder. God bless you, Shane. Appreciate the call, man.
Yeah, one quick thing. We got to pray for our leaders, man. Trump and JD and Rubio. We got to pray for them that they make the right decisions. And we really don't know what's going on. But, we don't know what's going on in the background, but these people need to do the right thing. And we need to pray to God. I don't know what God you believe in, but, the Jews, Jesus came for the Jews. And they need to pray to whatever God that these people would do the right thing for us Americans.
I'll tell you something, Shane.
I'm a Persian American myself.
We do that every day. And in fact, we have a special prayer we say on Sabbath. And here's something else, Shane. Somebody came up to me at an event a while ago. It's a Palestinian fellow. He came up to me and he said, Ari, I agree with you on 90% of the stuff. But you're forgetting one thing. The biggest victim of Hamas is not Israel. The biggest victim of Hamas is the Palestinians. And the biggest victim of the IRGC is not the Americans that they killed and not the Israelis that they killed and not anybody else they killed in the Middle East. It's the people they killed in their own country. And unfortunately, that gets lost on too many people, and that's who we're negotiating with. God bless you, Shane. Appreciate the call. Appreciate you being part of the show. Appreciate you listening. You want to be part of the show, you give us a call or a text at 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. We go back to the KVI studio line. Take call from Guard in Eastern Washington. Guard, what's going on, man?
Eastern Oregon.
Oregon. Eastern Oregon. My bad. Sorry, I can't read today. It is too hot in my studio. I am cooking here, man. I'm seeing double vision. It's like 90 degrees in here. Sorry. What's going on, man?
Yeah, well, we got dry heat over here.
Yeah.
But I wanted to ask you if you thought this deal was kind of like the Gaza deal. Like, they just expect the Hamas not to even be able to live up to it, and then everybody goes back to fighting again.
That's what I think it might actually be. Let's be real. This is a ceasefire. This is not a peace deal. This is not a deal in any way, shape, or form. This is a path towards a potential deal. And what I actually think is exactly that. They expect the Iranians, if they're playing 5D chess, and that's a big if, right? And I did leave that disclaimer in there. If they're playing 5D chess and they go, the Iranians couldn't even live up to this, at least you tried, then you know what? They get all my respect, and that's why I'm glad I put that caveat out there. That is entirely a possibility. Guard, appreciate the call. Appreciate you being part of the show. Yeah. You want to be part of the show, you give us a call or text at 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. I promised you this one, my friends. I want to make sure you get what you came for here. Seattle Mayor Katie Wilson has been under a lot of pressure because a lot of people are looking at the World Cup and they're going, yeah, it's nice in the stadium area and it's nice in downtown Seattle and it's nice in a few other places, but you pushed all the riffraff to a whole bunch of the rest of Seattle. That's why Jonathan Cho, Andrea Suarez, and I went out to 12th and Jackson and made the video we did, which you can see over at Jonathan Cho's social media, my social media, Andrea's social media. You can see it all over there, where you see the squalor, you see the drug use, you see the human trafficking, you see all this. Well, after that video went viral, all of a sudden, Katie Wilson releases this statement. We're taking a new approach to 12th and Jackson. Community groups, business owners in the Little Saigon neighborhood have been struggling for years with chronic safety issues near 12th and Jackson, now North Beacon Hill. The community has worked together to do what they can, but city leaders have failed to act. Lady, you're one of the city leaders, and you made the problem worse by shoving everything over there. Because notice how you wrote, and now North Beacon Hill. You shoved everything out of the stadiums over there because you wanted to clean up for the World Cup, and everybody's calling you out on that. Quote, we must disrupt the drug dealing, public disorder, and other illegal activity that has destabilized this community. You think? Wait, you're admitting it's a drug problem. She's admitting it's a drug problem. Do you still think it's a housing problem? Do you, Katie? Do you still think it's a housing problem, or are you finally admitting it? You think she's serious about this, or you think she's just saying this till the end of the World Cup, and then everything's going to come back with a vengeance? I actually wrote an op-ed on this for the New York Post. You want me to send you a copy of it? Email me at ari@kvi.com. That's ari@kvi.com, and I'm more than happy to send you one, or you can text 206-421-5757. Just text the word op-ed to 206-421-5757, and I will send you a copy of it as well. Up next, my friends, a mobile billboard showed up to Seattle Central College today. We'll tell you what it was calling out in their faculty when we come back. You're listening to The Ari Hoffman Show. Talk Radio 570, KVI. Well, my friends, a lot of people are coming to town for the World Cup, but our friend Adam Gullett, Presidency of Accuracy and Media, is back in town for a different reason. Probably had to pay a lot more for his flight this time, but he's got his mobile billboards with him at Seattle Central College. Adam, what's going on, man?
Well, as you exposed, Seattle Central College has what I've seen as one of the most morally reprehensible, racist college professors in America. A man with the gall to email all of his colleagues and shout his racism from the rooftops, essentially. So we brought a mobile billboard to his campus, and we decided to try to get some answers from his colleagues as to what the heck is going on.
Now, Adam, I have a little critique for you. I love you. We've become friends for the past few years, but it's summer, World Cup, you're on a college campus, you're wearing a suit on campus, bro. I mean, you didn't want to put on like a U.S. men's jersey or something like that? Maybe some short sleeves?
Well, I did wonder why so many of the students were running when they saw me. I think many of them probably haven't seen a suit since their last court appointment. It was definitely a rough area. And you're right, there actually weren't that many students on campus, to be fair, because today is commencement day. So currently the mobile billboard is going to the commencement up by UW's arena for the 1 p.m. commencement and possibly the 6 p.m. as well. We didn't see Mr. Quintero on campus, and we also went and visited his home and spoke with many of his neighbors, some of whom were quite surprised to live amongst such a racist, and one of whom told me she wants to give him a real talking to.
So you have 3 people that you found that we exposed here on the show, but that you have exposed on the campus to a much larger audience through the billboard and such. Tell me about these guys a little bit.
Well, of course, the big one is Quintero. This is a man who emailed and basically called for HR to get involved because he didn't want to have to be near any rapist, genocidal Zionists. And for those who try to claim, well, he's just mad at Zionists, he doesn't necessarily hate Jews, as you uncovered, he previously posted literally that there's no difference between Zionism and Judaism. So all these things he's saying about quote-unquote Zionists, he's not hiding it. To his credit, he's being honest. He hates Jews and, in his words, doesn't want to be near them, doesn't want any of them next to him. And in any large institution, I think it's not surprising to have 1 or 2 bad apples, 1 or 2 racist people. But what does it say about an institution when these bad apples feel so comfortable openly sharing their racist beliefs, expecting everyone to agree and expecting HR to get involved with it?
Yeah, that's beyond crazy. And here's something else. I reached out to the university for comment, and I said, hey, how do you feel about having this stuff, especially with what's going on with the Trump administration? They haven't gotten back to me. Did they get back to you at all?
Haven't heard a thing, haven't heard anything. We went to the university and he went to the administrative building and tried to meet with the president, but he wasn't there. He's the interim president. He was probably at commencement, unfortunately, and then they're closed tomorrow for Juneteenth. So we'll have to come back and meet with him at a later date because they announced, of course, last night that they're going to do an investigation, which is their polite way to say, we promise we're going to do something, and in reality, we hope in 3 or 4 weeks you've all forgotten about it, which is why we set up SeattleCentralHatesJews.com, SeattleCentralHatesJews.com, where you could send one message that goes directly to the trustees of this university, and we could fill up their inboxes over the next few weeks while they're sitting at commencement, while they're enjoying their 3-day weekend, and let them know that it is morally outrageous to harbor and promote a racist on campus. The guy's been there for 40 years. This can't be the first time he raised his hand and said he was an evil person. It's clearly a campus that tolerates it. And really, even if you like the campus, it's only a matter of time before the DOJ comes for them, because this is definitely something that would rise to the level of a Title VI investigation.
I completely agree. We're talking with Adam Gullett, president of Accuracy in Media. Now, I remember a few times ago when you came to one of these places with your mobile billboard, I think it was Seattle Public Schools at that time, calling out a terror supporter who they had in the classroom, who luckily is no longer with the school district. I remember Antifa's been waiting for you. Protesters have been waiting for you. Cops have been called on you. You have one of the more dangerous jobs. So tell me, was anything waiting for you today?
Well, that's funny. No one was expecting us, and we didn't announce it ahead of time. The homeowner called the cops on us, as they often do, and the cops, as they always do, tell the homeowner to calm down because we're acting entirely legally. And actually, the law enforcement officer recognized us from online, which was kind of funny. Always in fun. I imagine it was a very uncomfortable conversation for the homeowner when they complained about us calling out their racism, and the cops said, well, they're allowed to be here, and I followed them on Instagram maybe. But, yeah, thankfully no violence today, particularly because there were very few students on that campus. Perhaps we'll make some friends at the commencement.
Gotcha. Well, Adam, God bless you. Keep up the good work. Where are you headed next with what you're doing?
Well, we've got to go after some racists in a couple other states next week. We'll possibly be in New York. We'll see. But again, SeattleCentralHatesJews.com. These trustees, they don't get emailed very often. They don't get an inbox full of mad, angry people. And this college gets $7 million annually in federal funds. So SeattleCentralHatesJews.com. Send them a message. Put a frown on their faces.
Adam Gillette, president of Accuracy in Media. Really appreciate you joining the show. Really appreciate your hard work. And have a great flight back, man. Really appreciate that you even came out here for this.
Well, thank you for the service you're doing for this community, for bringing it to everyone's attention.
Very kind of you to say. We got a whole lot more to discuss as the show continues. You're listening to the Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI. Only good news to wrap up another amazing episode of the Ari Hoffman Show right here on Talk Radio 570 KVI. Best news of all, my friends. I hear the air conditioner is finally getting fixed on Saturday. At least that's the rumor around here. So number one, I can stop wearing these goofy shirts. And number two, my brain can start working again towards the end of the show when it is starting to overheat.
I hope you didn't just jinx it.
Well, I said in theory.
The part is supposed to be on the way.
Yes. Okay. And if the part is on the way, then maybe I can stop wearing these goofy shirts. If you want me to keep wearing the goofy shirts, you tell me. But this one I think is maximum goofiness. Aside from this, I just have regular Hawaiian shirts. I didn't realize Hawaiian shirts actually help with the heat. I thought they were just for costume parties and luau parties. But turns out, hey, maybe this is why middle-aged men wear them when they go on vacation, because they're shockingly comfortable. I mean, look, I've got the full middle-aged dude thing happening today. Kevin can attest to this, okay? I've got the receding hairline. I've got the goofy Hawaiian shirt. I've got the shorts with the cargo pockets on them. And I've got my sandals. That's right. Full middle-aged dude today.
Yeah, I was going to say, you got Tevas there? Or
I got my
Tevas.
I do have my Tevas. My Tevas. Yes, I do have those. I've had these suckers for a very long time. Let's just put it that way. These are aged. These are very, very old. They don't get worn very, very often. So, yep, that is the best good news of the day. In other good news, I'm not a big fan of the soccer ball of the foosball, but have you seen these videos online of people coming to our country and being amazed by the American stuff? It's really a lot of fun. Some of these Europeans with the social media influencer accounts, especially have you seen the stuff out of Boston? These are great, by the way, the stuff out of Boston. So they're worried about running out of alcohol in Boston in some of these beers. This is a real story. Bostoners, those people can drink, but the Scots showed up in Boston. I mean, just a little taste of the Scots in Boston. All right, I got a new take on Scotland. I love these guys. They're great.
What's funny is I have a friend in Germany, and I guess a few years back when they came to play with their national team or something,
Yeah.
I said, we were saying, we sent something about, how things have been crazy in Boston and all this stuff, and he sent back, well, when they were in Munich, they drank us all out of beer. And we thought it was a joke. And then a day later,
Yes.
I see that story come out where they're running out of beer, and I sent it to him. I said, you weren't joking.
Yeah, they're actually running out of beer. You know my favorite one? It's not good for radio, but you see these people from different countries, and they're doing the rowing team thing on the escalators. Have you seen these? They have this shtick that they do. They sit on the escalators, and they're all wearing the jerseys, and they're all wearing the everything, but they make it look like they're rowing with each step up the escalator.
Huh.
Check it out. It's
All
worth
right.
your time. Okay, you just need to watch one because they're all exactly the same. Sometimes they chant funny things, but it's pretty good. It seems like the Scots are doing just fine. In fact, they were also at the stadium, and here's them at the stadium. All right, how can we get these guys in the World Baseball Classic? It'd be a lot more exciting, right? Get them in the World Baseball Classic. Maybe baseball, make it international. See, if they had the actual World Baseball Classic, it was actually more like this, I'd probably be more into it. Right now, it's just a way to injure my players before the season. No, I want America's honor on the line with the World Baseball Classic. I want it to be more fun like this. So, yeah, I'm not enjoying the World Cup itself. I'm enjoying everything surrounding the World Cup. Plus, go to downtown Seattle. You won't get stabbed right now. It's actually pretty nice. You can go to the waterfront. It's nice. Enjoy it while we got it, guys. It's ticking away. And also, next Friday, Iran's playing Egypt on Pride Night. I'm really looking forward to that. Content is content, bro, right? Is that what they say? That's going to about do it for us today, my friends. But fear not, because we will be back tomorrow with more World Cup updates, more insane stories, more exciting guests, and, of course, more giveaways. You've been listening to The Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI.